Earlier this year, Colorado became the first state in the US to allow fully legalized marijuana to be sold over the counter. It's the culmination of a massive shift in public attitudes, and for the first time, polls show a majority of Americans are now in favour of legalization. So what happens in Colorado could well set the model for other states to follow. 3 months in, our North America correspondent Ben Knight went to Colorado to see how it's going.
No, this is the first. Okay. This is the first in Boulder.
Really?
This is how easy it is to buy marijuana in Colorado.
Thank you.
Can't quite believe this, but let's go.
Yeah.
But I'm not the one who's shopping. This guy is.
You get your card inspected, all that good stuff.
So this is it. You come into a ring like this. Whoa.
His name's Jake Brown, and he's a marijuana critic with the Denver Post newspaper.
These are top shelf sativas, our top shelf indica right now. We usually have a couple, but we're low right now.
And this is what he's here for, to review the product at one of the state's newest marijuana outlets. It was 3 months ago that Colorado's medical marijuana stores got the green light to start selling to any adult who walked in.
See, you want to smell the difference in pot? That right there. Huge orange notes.
You know, my 21-year-old self can't quite believe this is happening. In fact, my 43-year-old self can't quite believe this is happening.
It's fun to be able to do this without, having to pretend that, I've got a back problem or, I can't sleep. It's just we're here as adults checking out some, recreational marijuana.
And already the legal industry here is huge. In the first month, $14 million worth of recreational marijuana was sold in Colorado, just like this.
I have my cultivation facility on site here. We have the world's only garden viewing corridor where people can actually come and see the cannabis being cultivated firsthand. Would you like to go inside?
I'd love to.
All right.
Tony Fox has made more money in the last 3 months than she did in 3 years selling medical marijuana.
I have approximately 12 rooms that are this similar size. There are tour buses and charter buses from out of state that come in that are full. I have limousines that pull up every day. There's at least a dozen tour companies that I personally know of. Many of them are booked out months in advance.
Do you want to try one of these? Grab of that. The GDP was pretty good.
Yeah, I'll do a gram of that.
Colorado is reaping the benefits of legalising marijuana first. There are predictions that this year the state will take in somewhere between $60 and $100 million in marijuana taxes. 4 other American states are expected to follow soon.
20, 40, 60, 80.
But Colorado is the test lab. The rest of the country is watching what happens here very closely.
People try to compare what's happening here in Colorado to what's been happening in Amsterdam for years. But that's not true, because in Amsterdam, it's only tolerated. Here, it's 100% legal. If you're 21 years old, you can go and get it and you can use it. Now, there are some restrictions, of course. You can't smoke it in public, you have to do it at home. You certainly can't drive under the influence. And if you turn up to work stoned, you're going to be in just as much trouble as you were before. So what does a big modern city with legal marijuana look like? Well, pretty much the same as it did before. Quite simply, this isn't an earth-shattering change in a state where, for more than a decade, medical marijuana has been easily available to pretty much any adult who wanted it.
The sky didn't fall, right? There wasn't 1,000 people in the ER. There wasn't accidents all over the streets.
It was back in 1996 when the first ever medical marijuana co-op opened in San Francisco. Back then, only around a quarter of Americans supported legalising the drug.
$10. Let me get you change.
Today, more than 20 US states allow medical marijuana, and public support for legalisation is closer to 60%. Yet, under federal law, this is still an illegal drug.
We combine it with cocoa butter.
And the only reason a business like this can operate, making marijuana-laced chocolates, is because of what amounts to a promise from President Barack Obama to those states that federal agents won't enforce the law there. And that's a problem when it comes to banks, who don't like that kind of uncertainty.
We're not allowed to have credit cards, bank accounts, access to capital. Just a line of credit would be life-saving at this point. We're growing at such a rate, it's hard to keep up.
So every single marijuana business can only operate with cash.
What happens to the cash? It's a cash-only business.
I can't talk about that.
This industry is growing so fast that this month Denver held a special marijuana job fair.
When I seen this on Facebook, I jumped in my car and I drove for the last 13 hours to get here.
Other states look on. They see the jobs, the tourism and the tax revenue, and they take note. And that is what worries opponents of legalisation.
We're creating the next big tobacco of our time.
Your brain is under construction until age 28. But that's kind of the simplest way I can put it.
Dr. Kevin Sabet is the highest profile anti-marijuana campaigner in the US.
We are now creating an industry whose only business is to increase addiction. And now we see millions of people in the US in addiction treatment for marijuana. We see young kids now getting the message that using marijuana is okay.
I don't understand how people can be so blind and think that there's nothing wrong with it. When you come to a black community and you see what's going on.
Like the Shore neighbourhood in Washington, D.C. The nation's capital leads the country in marijuana arrests, and more than 90% of those arrested are black.
Yeah, I was shot, I was stabbed, I was kidnapped, I OD'd several
Andre Murphy
times.
started smoking marijuana in his teens. Like many of his friends, quickly moved on to heroin, crack and prison. He's been clean for 20 years. He's now a church elder ministering to addicts on the street. He doesn't want to see more black kids going to jail, but he does not support legalising marijuana.
You're playing with fire because we thought we wanted to use it recreationally, but it didn't turn out. It didn't end that way. It ended up with us being addicted to something even worse than what we started out with.
But here in Colorado, legalisation is not the end of the process.
Oh, that's nice.
Next comes normalisation. So instead of just smoking on his couch, Jake Brown writes a review that will be published by a major city newspaper.
It's one of our original bars, the Monkey Bars, 100 milligrams. This has got walnuts, bananas, and coconut in chocolate.
Bob Eschino has a dream to sell his products at baseball and football games.
We've kind of changed the face of the cannabis industry here, and I think we want to spread that across the country.
You almost had to legalize it in a few places for people to wake up and say, wait a minute, I thought I was voting for an adult to be able to smoke a joint and not be a criminal in his own home. I didn't realize I was voting for a pot shop near my kid's school.
Ben Knight reporting. That's the programme for tonight. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow, but for now, good night.